Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I thank all of my colleagues for their endeavors to help us to bring some sense of justice to a system that is being perpetrated that is completely, totally, and absolutely grounded in racism. Let me start with this. In 1965, when the Voting Rights Act was passed, there were 6 African-American members of Congress, 5 Latinos, and 4 Asians. Currently, depending on how you count and who's counting, we have more than 60 African-Americans. We have more than 50 Latinos and more than 20 Asian Americans. I say depending on how you count and who's counting because some persons can be defined in multiple ways. But here's the truth. If this plan succeeds in Texas, Texas will be just the genesis. The revelations will be seen across the length and breadth of the country. We are about to experience something that we never thought we'd see in our lifetimes, especially after having experienced what happened at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, which is probably the reason a good many of us are in Congress. It was at the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday that John Lewis and a host of other people of goodwill suffered grave, gross, and inhumane injustices. These are persons who started out on a peaceful march from Selma to Montgomery, and they were beaten all the way back to the church where they started. John Lewis told me he thought he was going to die on that bridge. Friends, Bloody Sunday is the reason we have the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We would not, but for Bloody Sunday, have it maybe later on. But Lyndon Johnson wouldn't have been able to sign it when he did. It was Bloody Sunday. Yes, it was signed in ink with a pen, but it was written in blood. The blood of the people on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. People who died just prior to the march, and some just after the march. Some people think that it's comical to say that it's racist, it seems. It is racist. We've reached a point in our country where we can't say racism because you become persona non grata. But you can say anti-Semitism. And we say that. I defend Jewish people. I believe that we ought to eliminate anti-Semitism. But we have come to a point where we want to manage racism and eliminate anti-Semitism. We cannot allow that to take place. Not on our watch. We've had other people who brought us here. We didn't get here by ourselves. We ought not assume that we can allow language to become a barrier when you know if you're going to win this lawsuit, you've got to say racism. If you don't say racism, we don't win. Because Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is all about protecting racial minorities. So we got to tell the truth. So here's the truth as I close and leave this microphone. Here is the truth. We got to have more fight in us. We got to be willing to take a stand and understand that John Lewis knew what he was marching into. He saw the men on the horses. He saw the clubs. But they marched on. They marched on. The march is not over. We have to march on. I thank you.